security through the wall. Future dreams we have to realize. 1,000 skeptic hands won't keep us from the things we plan, unless we're clinging to the things we prize. And do you feel scared? But I won't stop and falter. And if we grow it all, things can only get better. Today is though it was the last of final show. Get to 60 and you know regret. It may take a little time, a lonely path, an uphill climb. Success or failure will not alter it. And do you feel scared? But I won't stop and falter. And if we grow it all, things can only get better. And do you feel scared? But I won't stop and falter. And if we throw it all, things can only get better.
Hello out there. We're on the air. Welcome back to another episode of the Daily Bitcoin Journey. It is Tuesday. It is very yucky outside. It is November the 19th, 2024, and this show, our favorite show, maybe the best show on the internet right now, the Daily Bitcoin Journey, focuses on actionable and logical discussion for Bitcoiners and for future Bitcoiners. That was the very first Bitcoin jukebox. The very first Bitcoin jukebox. So big shout out to our friend Duchess. What was that song called? Howard Jones. Things can only get better. So that's what we're doing now. We used to do Mondays were for rescue dogs. All the zaps from Zapstream went to the dogs, but we've changed it up a little bit, spicing things up. We got to keep things always moving. And so now what we're doing is if you get a request, is this live on Zapstream? Oh, it looks like it. Yeah, there we go. Okay. I had a very tough start to the morning today. I had to create a whole new Zapstream account because it wouldn't connect. I tried 4 different streams would not connect. But we got to figure it out somehow, some way. But anyways, so what we're going to start doing now is every Tuesday, we're going to call it Tuesdays. And we're going to do the Bitcoin jukebox for the rescue dogs. All the proceeds, 100% of the proceeds are going to go to the Rescue Dog Fund, which is now at, I think it's 70,000 sats. We had 64, and I think we got 6,000 new ones yesterday and the day before. So that was from Duchess, 4,200 sats, won that request, bumped out a few people, and that's a song for today. So we're going to do that every Tuesday. I love the idea personally. So if you want to request a song for next Tuesday, you can send it to this address. Send any amount of sats. I think 2,100 is the current high bid. So you got to send more than that to this address. And in the description, just put the title and the song choice. And we'll get it next Tuesday. And special caveat there. If you zap more than 10,000 sats to the Rescue Dog Fund, you get automatically on the next show, regardless of what day it is. You get priority and next day shipping. So kind of cool. I really like the idea. And I think that, well, I mean, it's going to cost, it's going to cost a little bit on this end, because obviously all the shows we do with music aren't going to be monetized, but that's okay. It's for a good cause. So we got a good one today. I got my blue hat on. I haven't worn it for a while. Bridge said I look good this morning, so cheers to that. The winner of 88 sats this morning, UJ5K, new face in the chat, was early. Second comment of the day, saying sup. Pretty simple, but effective. So UJ5K, if you're still in the chat, put your Lightning address, your Lightning URL in the chat, and we will send you some sats. 88 sats to be exact. What else we got? I see Letha's over in the Zap stream. My whole new, I gotta figure this out a little bit here. Edit stream info. We need a title for it, Jor. It's been a very hectic morning here. Been a very hectic morning. Haven't had one of those for a while. We've been pretty smooth lately. Letha says, "Good morning, music from my ear." I think I had that hairstyle. That was a good video. I like that. My favorite thing about those old videos is there's no cell phones anywhere. I love that. I love watching like old movies, old music videos, old stuff like that, where everybody's not walking around like a fucking zombie or watching the whole concert through their small screen. I love that. We need to get back there somehow. I don't know if we will, but man, much better times, I would say. I also want to give a shout out to Letha, and I didn't actually. Yes, I can do that. Okay, so we're going to do a couple different things here today, but I want to give a shout out to Letha. She zapped 10,000 sats yesterday to Arnie's wallet right here, and said Ginger, I believe the dog's name was. Yes, 10,000 sats in honor of Ginger, my 20-year-old rescue Chiweenie, whatever the heck a Chiweenie is. Chihuahua and Wiener dog mix? Chiweenie, that's quite the name. We're putting her down today. She had the best life ever, no doubt. 20 years. That's like 140 years in human years. So this show we're going to dedicate to Ginger, and thank you to Letha for the sats. Also, speaking of Letha, check the analytics yesterday. We're moving up. Females, the female audience is growing. I think last week it was 3.7%. We were pumped. This week, 4.2%. So cheers to the women. To the women watchers. We got Hobbit over in the Zap stream. We're in Hobbit. Okay, what else we got going on here? We got a good show today. We got drip, 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 flood. I saw a very cool analogy last night. I want to talk about it a little bit today. We'll catch up on some news. We've already demonetized the show, so we might as well watch some clips along the way. we'll see how things go today. Bodie's in the chat. Good morning. You get your coffee and ensure your safety belt is firmly attached. Tray tables in the upright and locked position. Bodie is expecting liftoff. Duncan's in the chat. Afternoon all, having a beer. Cheers. Cheers, Duncan. We got Ian, yo, Bitcoiners, what a time to be alive, no doubt. Jason's in the chat, one of our Bitcoin Journeyman. A couple of Journeymen and Living in the Future members early today. Igor was a fan of the Bitcoin jukebox request this morning. I'm actually going to have Arnie's wallet here. So we got Zap stream is working now today after a hiatus yesterday and some very technical difficulties. But I'm going to keep this phone open today. So this phone is connected to this. So if you're watching this from YouTube and if you want to send a Zap in instead of using Zapstream, it's going to show up on here and it'll light up. We'll see what happens. Trying things out. Oh, we got to keep it fresh around here. As Rick says, don't forget to smash the like. That's a good point, Rick. What do we got here today? We got 45 people watching and we got 21 likes. That's sad. Sad in all caps. Morning, Rob. Morning, Robert. Gorgeous day here in Florida. Huh, nice. You want to see it here? Very, very, very gross. You can see the tracks out in the yard there. We made some snowmen at lunch yesterday. It was perfect snowmen. Snow. Oh, I thought Arnie was here. Oh, well, he'll be back maybe. Timber Crusher, one of our Bitcoin Journeymen in the house. Also, I saw there was another Bitcoin Journeyman who joined yesterday. Let's give a shout out. A couple actually joined. Give me a sec. Ooh, I just saw a video titled Kidnapped for Bitcoin. I don't like that. Okay, what was I looking at here? Dashboard. 2 new members this week, Bitcoin Journeyman. We got Henry. Shout out to Henry. Looks like he's got a nice woofer in his profile picture. And we got Rashid. So 2 new Journeymen in the chat. I don't know if they're in the chat or not today, but they're the newest Bitcoin Journeyman. Just like Timber Crasher. Drew, good morning. Good to see you, my friend. Retro Beaver. Jared's in the house. Talking to Jared yesterday. Jared, I emailed you back. So we'll maybe hopefully set something up this week and chat about it. Tip Top Tune Tuesday. Oh, that's a lot of T's. Larry said, I heard dogs are supposed to live around 20 years, but the pet industry, food and vaccines cut their life in half. I mean, that would be the least surprising news of my life. That's sick. Isn't it just sickening? But the good news is that's over, I think. I think those days are gone. Oh, it's snowing now. We're supposed to get 10 inches of snow today. And it just started. Kind of sad. But yeah, pretty sickening, to be honest with you. Same with humans. Human lives. Ryan, good morning. Bitcoin Discovery says, does MicroStrategy shares yield more Bitcoin per share over time? It's like a proxy to mining Bitcoin. I mean, let's check that out because I actually had that on the agenda today. We might as well start with that. Why not? I'll just email it to myself. Oh, Jared, I just saw you emailed me back. There you go. You're ahead of me. All right, let's see what the yield is all about in MicroStrategy land. And then we're going to talk about it a little bit later, but we'll start with this. Just don't let this be your only piece of information today because I got some news. Not really news, just a gut feeling. Okay, so does MicroStrategy shares yield more Bitcoin per share over time? So if we look at this tweet that Sailor sent out this morning, you can see yes. The answer to that is yes. So keep in mind here, I know everybody gets pretty weird about Bitcoin yield on Bitcoin, but when we say yield on Bitcoin in this case, it means that there's more sats per share. So if you had a share in MicroStrategy and with that you had 500,000 sats, basically what's happening now is with that same share, year to date is up 41%. So what did I say? 500,000 sats per one share. Let's just go 100,000 sats per one share. So you'd have 141%, or 141,000 sats so far. At the start of the year, you had one share. That share had 100,000 sats associated with it. At this point of the year, that same one share now has 140,000 sats associated with it. So that's the yield there. So Sailor says year-to-date MicroStrategy's treasury operations delivered a Bitcoin yield of 4.18%, providing a net benefit of 79,130 Bitcoin to our shareholders. This equates to approximately 246 Bitcoin per day, acquired without the cost, energy consumption, or capital expenditures typically associated with Bitcoin mining. So, I mean, if you're a MicroStrategy shareholder, you're probably feeling pretty good right now. And personally, I am. Although I do have some questions, let's say. Sunshine says, good morning. Don't think zaps are showing up in the chat. Huh. Okay. Let's try sats.gg. Let's see what's happening there. Might not even be connected. This whole thing's been it's not even showing up on there. Something's weird with the zaps today. And it's not connected to this either. Hold on. Did the zap even work? That's the question. Hopefully. I got that song in my head now, the Tip Top Tune Tuesday song. Okay, where's the transactions here? 69. Okay, I see a couple in here. We got 121 sats. We got 420 sats. And we got 69 sats have showed up. But they're not showing up in the Zap stream. That's unfortunate. Okay. Let's take a little breather here. It's too manic right now. It's too manic. Let's calm down. Okay. Holy. Look at this, folks. Look at this. Mempool. Just hit a new block, btc.com. Ring the bell. 871,046 blocks have been mined since January the 3rd, 2009. Currently, the fees, 15 sats per VByte. So I'd say above average lately anyways, but not too crazy. But look at this. So yeah, we've been talking about the difficulty adjustment quite a bit on the show because it is one of the most important aspects, most important features of Bitcoin, the difficulty adjustment. So yesterday was a new difficulty adjustment and it was up 6.3%. So we'll look at that in a sec. But look at this. We're already up 9% this difficulty adjustment, 27 blocks ahead already. That's nuts. That means that the hash rate must be absolutely ripping right now. Let's take a look at that. Let's take a look at the difficulty adjustments that we've seen lately. They've been all upwards. Starting here back in October. So we had one difficulty adjustment upward, making it harder for miners to find blocks. And then we had another one here, October 22nd, upwards. Look at these. They're big jumps. And then November 4th, a couple weeks ago, we had another big adjustment upwards. And then yesterday, we had another small upwards adjustment. And so far, we are 9% up right now. Pretty wild. Pretty wild. We got Drew in the chat. Says, morning, Jor, fellow Canadian here. Thoughts on expatting to another country in case shit ever hits the fan here? CAD keeps dropping ridiculously high taxes and home prices. Thank God for Bitcoin. Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I've been kind of thinking, looking at options. Nothing too serious though. I mean, the reign of terror is almost over here, hopefully. I think 2025 is supposed to be our next election here in Canada. And if that goes south, or if that goes, in a weird way, I'll probably pack up. As sad as that is, as much as I want to stay here in Canada and help rebuild this, I can't take another 4 years of this. But you're right. Thank God for Bitcoin. And I think the one thing you could do in Canada and other countries who are kind of going through the same thing is either hold US dollars or hold Bitcoin. Like don't hold any sort of wealth or energy in your home currency unless you're in the US. It seems to be the one that's obviously performing the best. But I mean, Bitcoin number 1, 2 would be US dollar. It's tough. A lot of people don't have I wouldn't say the stones, but like the know-how to go all in on Bitcoin yet. And you get paid at the start of the month, you put it all in Bitcoin and you spend it. That's probably the play. But yeah, a lot of people don't have that option right now. So it's tough. But you know what? I do think that there's a lot of things that give me hope in Canada. And I would say 3 things. Number 1, the people here, very, very good people, like salt of the earth kind of people, truly friendly, too friendly at times, but really good, hardworking people here in Canada. The second one is that there's a lot of Bitcoiners here. Trudeau has done a lot, very, very significant amount of damage here in Canada, but it's also created a lot of Bitcoiners, a lot of hardened Bitcoiners in Canada. So that gives me hope. I think we're number 3 in Bitcoin mining right now, Canada. And the third one is that we have so many resources here, and we're moving into a future now, I think, that got unlocked a couple weeks ago, where we're going to put more focus on energy. And we've been hating energy for the last little while here in Canada under Trudeau. We've been taxed on energy. We've been told to hate carbon when we are carbon. Everybody's carbon. The whole earth is carbon. So here in Canada, we have so many resources, an absolute abundance of natural resources. And once we can unlock that and start producing like we should be, then this whole country is just going to turn around like that. It's going to take some time, but any country that has resources, natural resources, are going to do very well in this next turning. It's going to be very energy based without the restrictions that we've had in the past, or the shackles. If that makes sense. Okay, let's Craig, I see your video there. I'm going to put that on pause for just a sec because I don't want to talk about that quite yet. But anyways, let's go. Jason says my home in SD, I'm guessing South Dakota, will look like that tomorrow. Jason's living right. Florida and South Dakota, those are pretty good states. A couple different options there. Larry says, bro, if I lived in Canada in the cold without sun, I would get depressed. Yeah, you know what? I didn't really realize how much of an impact that has on us. Never thought about it before at all. And so, something I'm trying to do in my own life right now is create something where I can live here for 6 months, 7 months during, March till September, and then go to somewhere like Costa Rica or El Salvador, anywhere really, even Florida, for the cold months here. I didn't really understand how important it was to, the sun exposure and actually touching grass. It's crazy how little of that we get here in Canada for half the year. That's not what we're looking for, UJ5. We're looking for a lightning address. I'm not going to send Bitcoin on chain for 88 sats. Sorry. Django. Morning, Bitcoiners. Good morning, Django. What do we got here? VIB as of a second ago. Who's this? Who's VIB? Very important Bitcoiner? Daniel says can't zap the show. Yeah, we got some issues with Zapstream today. we got some issues with the Zap stream today. So the cure to that, we got a couple here. We got 1,000 sat Zap on the phone here from the QR code, and we got another 1,000 sat Zap for the code here. In memory of Ginger from Lucky and Duchess. Amazing. So I'm going to keep that phone open here. So if you can Zap on Zapstream, or if you're on YouTube and you want to send a Zap, and you can send it right here, and we'll see it live right in front of us. MB says MicroStrategy means no self-custody would be a no for me. Yeah, I mean, that's the one thing I'd say right now. Like, I have MicroStrategy shares, and I've done pretty well on them, obviously, in the last couple of months. But I don't think I would be getting into it right now. I know that's probably against the popular opinion. I go back and forth on it. So let's put the MicroStrategy stuff talk on pause right now, because I want to talk about it in a little bit more detail. We got Jason in the chat. Good morning. Another Jason without a Y. Buck 52,000. We got Surge. Good to see you, Surge. Drew says father-in-law just got back from Costa Rica. Said it was one of the most beautiful places he had visited. And my parents just got back from Costa Rica too, actually. They didn't say quite the same. They said it was very wet and lots of water there right now. Yeah, this is good. This is a good analogy. US dollar is the cleanest shirt in a dirty shirt pile. That's true. That is true. Okay. UJ5 says, can I email you the Lightning? Yeah, sure. I mean, the point of it is kind of to do it on the show, but that's okay. We're flexible around here. Okay, so let's get to the metrics today, and then we'll jump right into the MicroStrategy chat, because I see Craig's got a video there. We can watch that. And I want to go back and forth with it. I've tried very hard to focus more on Bitcoin than anything else, obviously, and that's been my number one advice from day one. That's number one, Bitcoin. But if you have any money in the old system, in the legacy system, then MicroStrategy is a good choice. But we're going to go back and forth. We're going to talk about some pros, some cons, some other stuff, and we'll see what we unpack. Okay, I got to make sure I'm keeping this phone on here. Oh, there we go. Look at that on the screen. LF grow. Let's fucking grow. From Jason, 2,200 sats. I like this. It's like the old school version of Zapstream before Zapstream existed. Thank you, Jason. Okay, we got to update the date here, but other than that, everything should be accurate. Price today, $92,468 US dollars. 1 year ago, you could have purchased a Bitcoin for a third of that, 37,394 USD. And 4 years ago, on November 19th, 2020, you could have purchased a Bitcoin for 17,817 USD. The Moscow time, $1 US will get you 1,094 sats. If you want to be Moscow rich, 1 million sats needed. Going to cost you $1,914. Here in Canada today, I did not update this price, but I think it's going to be higher. I'll check ShakePay. We'll shake for today. 117 days. That's a good number. 117 days. And the price is what? 128,734 Canadian dollars. Moose Jaw time here, which is the equivalent of Moscow time here in Canada. 1 CAD will get you 781 sats. The deal of a lifetime, absolutely. And once you hear what we're going to talk about today, you'll understand that a little bit more. Moose Jaw rich, you got to get 1 million sats here in Canada. That's going to cost you 1,280 Canadian dollars. So that's the metrics today. That is the metrics for today. Okay. Kev says, Kev99921 says, why 88 sats? Well, we don't have too much time to talk about it today, but 88 sats project was our golf and Bitcoin project where we got 88 people, mostly new Bitcoiners, never owned Bitcoin before. We got 88 people to buy into a vision, send Bitcoin to a shared wallet. And after 10 years, our goal is to buy a golf course with that Bitcoin. So the point of it was to really change the perception around Bitcoin from a very short-term pyramid, buy low, sell high, overnight success story to like a very longer-term vision of Bitcoin. And we have a golf company called knggolf. And so we had a pretty decent size audience in the golf world. And so we got 88 golfers to buy some Bitcoin, sent it to a wallet, and we're hoping to buy a golf course in 8 years from now, or whenever we're able to, maybe less, maybe more, but it's kind of cool. And one thing I'd say to that is that go back and watch the show from Saturday. What was it called? If you want more information on that, go back and watch the show we did on Saturday. Holy, it's snowing now. The show was called Bitcoin is the Currency of Freedom, 1 year party. So go watch that. It's got information on 88 sats. It's got information on the new version of that we're coming out with. I've just had too many people ask if they could buy shares in 88 sats. And the whole point of it was to be 88 people only, 88 shares in a corp, multi-signature. So we're going to do another one. It's going to be not as focused on golf, but it's going to be something similar. Fully decentralized. There's no one person. Everybody votes on everything. It's pretty cool. It's very unique. And we already have a pretty decent amount of people who are wanting to join that one. So that's going to go, first dibs are going to go to the Living the Future community. And then if we have any spots left, we will be taking it to the public, kind of. Larry says, humans are nomadic. I don't think we're meant to be in one spot. Are we? I don't know. Like, I feel like when humans before airplanes existed and cars existed, people didn't move too far. So I kind of know what you're saying, but I don't know. I don't know. Duchess, good morning, Jor. Hope you and Arnie have a great day. Thanks for the show opening song. No, thank you. You were part of history today. You were the very first Bitcoin jukebox request. Okay, let's get to some MicroStrategy talk. So let's, I have no idea what this is from Craig, but let's watch it. Oh, it's 60 minutes long. No, we don't have time for that. Sorry, Craig. I did see this one today, though. It's MicroStrategy, a pyramid scheme. So let's, you guys can all watch that later on your own. It looks like it's from Mark Meldrum. Is MicroStrategy a pyramid scheme? Maybe we'll watch it at the end. We'll see how the show goes. I wouldn't mind watching, honestly. But I do want to talk about a couple things with MicroStrategy. There's been a lot of talk about it lately. And I don't know if you guys saw the interview with PBJ, whatever the guy's name is. I don't know who it was. I've seen some clips from his podcast before, but I've never, what's this? Hey, we got a new member, another new member today, Jason, new member of the Bitcoin Journeyman. If you want to join, I think the main benefit to joining is just to support the channel, number one. But two, you also get the full show every time we go to the second part of the show, the private show. You get all that. So every time we do that, I share the link on the members only page, and you can just click that and watch the full show. So it's $3 a month Canadian. If you're interested in joining, you can join directly from the channel there. So MicroStrategy, there was Saylor did a live interview with PDB. I don't know what his name is, but there were some weird things that came up throughout the show, and I felt like I needed to just kind of address them a little bit. So we're going to talk about some weirdness, And then we're going to talk about some positives with MicroStrategy, and then kind of like a summary. So he was on the show yesterday. It was a pretty good interview. There was lots of stuff going on. The host seemed like more of a crypto guy than a Bitcoiner. I think he owns some Bitcoin, but he was asking Saylor about like XRP, other altcoins, stuff like that. Saylor didn't really entertain it too much, obviously. But then the host asked Saylor about Scottie Pippen and his interview that they had in the, what would you call it, like a fireside chat, a panel, when Scottie Pippen was asked about Satoshi and said that he met him in 1993. And we've all seen the clip of Saylor pretty much breaking his neck when Scottie said that he met him in 1993. But it just got really weird. Like he was talking about, he kept saying a word like revenants or something along those lines. And like, we don't talk about Satoshi, or we only talk about Satoshi after 2008. And it wasn't like, he didn't say like nobody knows who Satoshi is or Scottie's out to lunch. I get that they're friends. And he said that they had supper after on his yacht and they talked about it. And it was just super weird. It seemed to me like Michael was mad that Scottie said that. Not the fact that he doesn't think that he actually knows who it is, but like the fact that he shouldn't have said anything about it, which is really weird to me. And it almost seemed like Saylor knows who Satoshi is. So that was the first part. And then like 5 minutes later, the host asked Saylor about, he said, you have 5 kids. That's how he started the next subject. He said, you have 5 kids. And Saylor's like, no, I don't have any kids. And the host was like, you have a family though. And Saylor said, no, I don't have a family. And then it got super, super awkward for like the next 2 minutes. I encourage you to go watch that part, the full interview, but especially these 2 parts, and just watch their reactions and their body language. And it was just super weird to me. Weird is the best way to describe it. So it just seemed to me like the host, he didn't come out and say, do you have any kids? Or where's the Bitcoin going to go when you die? He came out and said, you have 5 kids. So I'm guessing that somebody's lying here. You don't just come up with somebody having 5 kids. It seems a little bit out there. Or even if he said you have a couple kids, but he said you have 5 kids. And Saylor got really weird and said no. So I don't know. It's just like something didn't sit right with me there. And I don't know what it was. It just seemed like Saylor was lying about a couple things, about pretty important things, I would say. It must be important if he's lying about it. So I don't know. Every time that something like this happens where it explodes and, the price goes from whatever it's gone to $400 a share, which would be $4,000 before they did the stock split. But there's always going to be people coming out and saying things like, is MicroStrategy a pyramid scheme? Is Michael Saylor working for the feds? There's always going to be stuff like that. That's not what I'm too focused on. I'm looking at like his actual reaction, his actual body language, and why is he being weird about this kind of stuff? It's troubling. I'm not going to lie, it's troubling. And I could be wrong. I could be way out to lunch. Maybe he actually doesn't have a family and I'm just looking way too far into this. But there's a lot at stake here for Bitcoin and for MicroStrategy. So I don't know. I don't know what the play is. Like, I kind of want to take a deep dive down the Michael Saylor rabbit hole to see, there was some issues in his past, but I don't hold that against anybody because before Bitcoin, we were all different people. But I would be interested to see, like, what's the story here with this? Does he have 5 kids? Does he have a family? Why is he lying about it? So that's the first part that I wanted to talk about. But the second thing here is, let me bring this up. It's a little video. And maybe I'll save this for a little bit later on. I'll send it right now, and then we'll watch it in a bit. Maybe watch these. I don't know. This is classic Bitcoin journey today. Scrambly. I don't know. What do you guys think? What do you guys think? Guys and girls, I should say. Maybe he wants to keep his family life private. I mean, that would be the thing that makes the most sense to me. And I would completely understand that. So maybe I just am overthinking this, and I really don't think it's a bad thing to do. When you're putting this much trust in somebody, you need to kind of know what they're all about. Larry says Saylor definitely has kids. I think so too. Brent says there's no way he doesn't have kids or a wife or a significant other. He may be flipping over or to perfect family protection mode. I mean, I don't blame him. Like that's the thing. That's the other part of this too. Like that could very well be it. I could just be thinking too far into this, and he might be just looking after his family, which I would totally respect, because he's done more for Bitcoin, I think, in terms of like growing institutional adoption than anybody else. And it's not even close, which has had a real impact on Bitcoin, obviously the price of it, but just the adoption of it as well. And like the perception of it. But, I get it, because even as like for myself, somebody who doesn't even have one Bitcoin, but I have a show and I know what that fraction of a Bitcoin is going to be worth one day. So, I worry about that kind of stuff too. So I couldn't imagine having, tens of thousands that you own yourself, plus hundreds of thousands that you have direct access to in a way, or people might perceive it to be that way. So if that's the case, totally respect that. And I think that he should be very private about that kind of stuff. It's nobody else's fucking business, honestly. So maybe I'm just looking too far into this. I still think we should be, questioning a little bit. So Jake and Bake says, Daddy Sailor is just wanting privacy. On a side note, BlackRock just opened up their options. Trading for IBIT, pretty cool. Wouldn't do it myself. Let the gamblers in. Yeah. I don't know. The reverence, that's what he kept saying. The reverence for Satoshi. Patrick Bet David. His middle name is Bet. It's a weird one. PB&J. What's MicroStrategy humming at right now? $3.97. Whew. Okay. Wow. I mean, what's the thing? Like, honestly, I'll tell you my plan for it, because I've been thinking about this obviously a lot. But I think my plan is to, once it gets to like 420, might happen today, but I'm going to sell some. I don't know. I just, they're up quite a bit. I'm going to take some off the table. I'm just going to be pretty much playing with house money, like my earnings off it. And I don't know where I'm going to put the rest. I feel like maybe a Bitcoin ETF. I want to keep it in a tax-free, tax-sheltered account. Well, that's going to be annoying. Hopefully Bridge gets that. Yeah, she's on it. Yeah, maybe put some in like a Bitcoin ETF. I want to keep it in there. I still want to get the price exposure to Bitcoin, and maybe put some in Tesla. I don't know. I just have a really weird feeling about everything right now. I don't know why, but I mean, whenever things seem too good to be true, they usually are. And I'm trying to talk myself out of that, because I really understand what's happening here with Bitcoin. And I think that the only way MicroStrategy could fail is if Bitcoin fails, or if they lose the Bitcoin. Other than that, like, there's no products, there's no product risk of going, obsolete. There's no CEO that could be in a scandal and the share price would crash. The factors are different in MicroStrategy in terms of like operating risk, in terms of the value of the company. It's very tied to Bitcoin. It's very tied to them keeping their Bitcoin. And I think that if Bitcoin succeeds and they hold on to their Bitcoin, then it is the real deal and how they're accomplishing this. So I'm not going to tell you what to do. Obviously, I never give any sort of actual recommendations, especially in terms of stocks and stuff, which I don't claim to be an expert in, but that's what I think I'm going to do. It's never a bad idea to take some off. I'm not going to do that with Bitcoin. I know people say like take some profits in Bitcoin. I'm not selling any Bitcoin. The price could go to $20 million tomorrow and I wouldn't sell any Bitcoin. 95% of it. But I have no issues parting with this. This is kind of what I got it for, is to get some fiat, tax-free fiat. Hey, look who it is. Hi, buddy. You camera shy or what? Arnie. What the heck? I think he's camera shy. He used to be different. Now he doesn't like being on camera as much. I think he knows it's there, because as soon as I finish the show, or as soon as I say bye-bye, he comes right to the door. Okay, let's see what else we got here. Definitely was talking strangely about Satoshi and defending Scotty, almost like he knows who Satoshi is. That's the vibe I got too. That's the vibe that I got too. Serge says too sensitive of a subject with big consequences. I agree with that. You know, he's got a lot at stake now. He's got a lot at stake. Lots of people say Saylor is a spook in the CIA. I don't know about that. I think, if anything, I think the one thing that, you know, and I don't necessarily think this is a bad thing, but I do think that there are people in Wall Street, in these small circles, who have been pulling the strings within Bitcoin for many years now. Even though we're just kind of seeing it play out right now, I do think that they've been there for a while. And when I say them, I mean like, what's his name? Howard Lutnick, like Trump, Saylor, the guy who owns NYDIG, Larry Fink, like these guys. I really think that they've been working together in terms of, you know, not letting the price run up where people get real excited about it, letting them get as much as they can. And I do think that Saylor's part of this. He talked about having conversations with, you know, not necessarily Trump directly. I think they have, but people within Trump's circles. So I definitely don't think that Saylor's just going at this thing rogue, trying to take things over, because we know what happens to people who do that. So and that's like, so then you have that protection in terms of a shield against anybody coming after them, because if they, I don't know, it's just like it's a crazy conundrum for me. It's a crazy conundrum. Okay, Daniel says, I have the feeling that MicroStrategy is going to blow up, probably the GBTC of this cycle, but I'm holding some for now. Craig says, still holding myself. Daniel, have made several recommendations to buy MicroStrategy to others. The logic in the video makes some sense. However, gotta run. We'll catch the recording. Okay, well, Craig, we might watch that video in a bit. We'll see how things go here. We got My Path to Fire over in the Zap stream. Good morning, my friend. Maybe he wants to keep his family life private. I don't think MicroStrategy is a Ponzi, but could correct hard. Question is, will you have more sats investing in MicroStrategy at the end of the day? That's what counts, not fiat gains. Yeah, I agree with that. And that's the number one. That's the number one thing here, is you want to hold your Bitcoin in your own possession. End of story. Should we have a little fun here today? I saw this video the other day. It's only 47 seconds long. I've heard this theory before. It's super weird. So why not? Tuesdays are weird. It's been a weird day. Let's keep the party going here. You guys seen this before? This is Barron Trump. Is Barron Trump a time traveler? We're going to get weird here, but it is weird. Everything this, I should have just called the show the weirdest episode ever. Okay, let's watch this.
But in this case, is art a prophecy? Author Ingersoll Lockwood wrote a series of books over 100 years ago about a super rich kid named Baron Trump. One of the books is titled Baron Trump's Marvelous Underground Journey. The fantasy book tells the tale of a boy named Baron Trump, who of course makes his home in Castle Trump. The narrator of the story is a guy by the name of Don. The book supposedly tells the tale of Don, the master of masters, taking young Baron through a time-traveling portal to Russia. The last pamphlet written by Lockwood is entitled The Last President, which takes place in New York City and describes the chaos America faces after the election of an unlikely candidate. They say art imitates life, but in this case, is art a prophecy? Author Ingersoll.
What? I've heard that before. I heard that a couple years ago, the exact same story, and I completely forgot about it. I always looked at Baron as like something weird, but I mean, what? Baron Trump, which we know is Trump's son, youngest son, he kind of looks like an outcast in the family. He's 3 feet taller than everybody else in the family. There's a character in the book named Don. Took place in New York City, I think, and it was the last president. And there's been a lot of people saying that that was the last presidential election we'll ever have in 2024. I don't know. I mean, there's just been so much stuff like that. I don't know what to think or believe or what the hell's going on here. I mean, I'm for it, but at the same time, it's still fucking weird. Isn't it? Okay, what else do we have here? I mean, this is probably true too. This is something else you got to consider. Jason says, I won't even look at selling until 1,000 next year, Q3, 4, when added to the S&P. Do you think it'll take that long though? I don't even know what the process is on getting added to the S&P. Because the nice thing about the S&P is there's going to be a lot of money that just flows into it strictly from that without anybody really buying, because there's so many funds that are attached, like the S&P, index funds, all that kind of stuff. If you own those, you're going to own a piece of MicroStrategy now, as soon as that happens. So that's going to create a whole new windfall of demand there. Okay, let's, what else do we have here? Oh, this is a big one. I want to talk about 2 more things, just kind of unrelated to MicroStrategy and Trump. Brennan says, look who's at the forefront of freedom right now. Your dear to fiat is safe with the freedom fighters. Yeah, I mean, and that's the other thing too. There's just so many things that play out. I'm literally just trying to talk through this out loud on a live show. Bodhi says, on Sailor, like any politician, person, place, or thing, we can't get too comfortable. Yes, familiar or reliant on them, him, it. Many good things happening, but gut instinct is why we should question. Yeah, that's right. That's 100% right. I mean, okay, well, this had a new, we're going to skip this because this hasn't been proven yet, but it basically said that TD Bank will no longer be accepting cash deposits at a bank, Canadian currency in Canada. So I looked into that a little bit. There was no actual announcement from TD. But the girl said that she's not a customer of TD, but she went to deposit some cash, I'm guessing, for her employer. And the lady at the till said that they're not going to be accepting cash as deposits at the bank for much longer. This same TD Bank was the ones who I think they got fined $3 billion for assisting in drug trafficking, sex trafficking with the cartel money. So in other words, if you're a member of TD Bank in Canada, don't be anymore. Make that a priority. Royal Bank too, they stopped accepting, they started blocking money to Bitcoin exchanges. We talked about this a little bit yesterday on the show in terms of the fiduciary duty. And I know Dan had a good couple good comments and laughs at that, calling me a qualified accountant. but it's the truth. And this is a tweet from Marty Bent yesterday, one of our favorite Bitcoiners. Marty Bent says, the career risk around Bitcoin is only increasing as the days pass. If you are a fiduciary and you don't have the exposure to Bitcoin, you're going to have some tough questions to answer. Why did we miss Bitcoin? What am I paying you for? So maybe let's kick that off today with what I wanted to talk about. So the drip, drip, flood. Drip, 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 flood. Let me get this opened up. This was the blog today that I wrote. And if you're not a subscriber over there yet, I think you're missing out. It's a very short blog that I do every morning. I started doing it about 3 weeks ago before the show. It's on Substack. You can get the link. It's free. It's just kind of an addition to this. There's sometimes I talk about the blog then in the show. Sometimes they're unrelated, but you can find the link in the show notes. It's a Substack. I think it's bitcoinjourney.substack.com or something like that. But I write a blog there every morning. And it's actually been getting a bit of traction over there. A little bit. It took a while, but I guess that's what consistency does. But with the drip, drip, drip flood, I think that there's a lot of people out there right now who are expecting that Bitcoin's going to go into the millions. And I would be one of those people. There's also a lot of people who think that that's going to take 50 years to happen. And I'm not one of those people. I think that the way exponential growth works, we're going to illustrate it here in just a sec, but I think it's going to happen much faster than we think. So I'm going to give the analogy here that I saw yesterday, and then I'm going to talk about the 3 triggers that I believe will take it from where we are today, 93 to 93 million. So here's the analogy that I saw yesterday. Let's use an example of a football stadium being filled with water. So every minute, 1 drop gets added, and the number of drops double every minute. So it goes from 1 drop to 2 drops to 4 to 8 to 16, 32, 64, etc. How long do you think it would take to fill the entire stadium with water? A day? A week? A year? How about 50 minutes? 50 minutes. And the crazy part, how full do you think it would be after 45 minutes? Most would guess 70%, 80%, 90% would make sense mathematically. But that's wrong. After 45 minutes, the stadium is only 7% full. 7%. So in the final 5 minutes, the stadium goes from 7% full to 100% full. So I think that that's what we're going to happen here. I think that's what we're going to see happen here in Bitcoin, where it takes a while to get to, a decent amount, a foundation, 7%, but then it only takes 5 minutes for the other 93% to happen. So we've heard things like gradually, then suddenly. It's the same kind of thing. Drip, 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 flood. And I think that's what's going to happen in Bitcoin very soon. And I think these are my 3 triggers that I have that will take the price from 93,000 to 93 million. And those are just numbers. I'm just saying like it's going to happen fast. That's my point. I'm not saying it's going to be 93 million anytime soon, but it's going to happen fast. So these are the 3 triggers that I have. Number 1, Wall Street, the big money, the institutional money can participate. Number 2, a major country starts buying Bitcoin as a strategic reserve. And number 3, the price hits 1 million. Price of Bitcoin, 1 Bitcoin is $1 million. So we know that 1 has already happened. 1 happened in January 2024. That's when the ETFs were launched. That's when Wall Street, that's when the biggest capital in the world was able to buy Bitcoin. And we've seen what's happened since then with the volume, with the price, with the demand for Bitcoin. So pretty much right now, as it stands today, for the most part, and you also have to consider the fact that there's still a lot of big money that still can't get into Bitcoin. Can't. They're not allowed to. But for the most part, most people can buy Bitcoin. Not everybody's going to hold it themselves, obviously, especially bigger companies with shareholders and responsibility there. But I think that anybody who wants to buy Bitcoin right now has the ability to, whether that's through Bitcoin, through a Bitcoin ETF, through MicroStrategy, through Semler, through Metaplanet. If you want Bitcoin today, you can probably find some or some exposure to it. So that's already happened. Number one has already happened. That is Wall Street can participate. Number two is a major country starts buying Bitcoin as their strategic reserve. And I know that there's a lot of people who are like questioning this. Like I've seen the odds is like 50-50 that Trump's administration actually goes ahead with this. But I would put it closer to like, honestly, 99%. And the reason I said is because we've seen Cynthia Lummis. She's a senator. She's introduced the bill, which could take a while to actually be approved and put into. And her thing is she wants to buy 1 million Bitcoin over 5 years, I think. So that's one route. But the other route there is that I've also heard that Trump's going to do it as an executive order early on in his presidency. And I think that I would lean towards that one because Trump's a business guy. Trump knows the markets. Trump knows how things work. And they've already announced that they're going to be doing it. It's definitely not priced into the 93,000 right now because people are still unsure if it's going to happen or not. But if you look at, they've already announced it. So they're already allowing people, companies, and other countries to front run them before they do that. So I don't think Trump's going to risk waiting 6 months for the bill to go through the process, normal process. I think he's going to do it very early on. So when that happens, when the US starts buying Bitcoin, they're going to be mining Bitcoin. They're going to be doing a lot of different things in Bitcoin. But when they start going through with their plan to buy 1 million Bitcoin, that's when every country's going to get every country's attention because they're going to see that the US is moving forward with this. They believe it's going to be the next world reserve currency. And then every country on earth with a brain, hopefully Canada is in there. I know our country doesn't have much of a brain right now, but every country is going to be doing that. And there's only so much Bitcoin. That's the thing. That's the key here to both those 2 points, first 2 points, is that we've never had an asset like this before. A scarce asset with a fixed supply. There could be as much demand as we want. There could be more demand than anything before, but that won't change the supply. So I want to say that again. We've never had an asset like Bitcoin before, a scarce asset with a fixed supply. So that's why something like this could happen. And the third one I had was the price, when the price hits 1 million. And I know we've talked about like $100,000 Bitcoin being like the key to retail getting in. But when the price hits $1 million, that means that 1 sat is equal to 1 cent. And I think that at that point, that's going to be like the line that we cross where we don't know what the price of Bitcoin is anymore because everything's going to be priced in sats. So it's going to go from 1 cent per sat to 2 cents per sat. And it's going to look like a penny stock going from 2 cents to 5 cents per sat. Meanwhile, 1 Bitcoin is jumping up like hundreds of thousands of dollars every time that moves 1 sat or 1 cent higher. So that's when it's going to happen. That's why I think that 1 million, the point at 1 million is so important. Because when we don't even know what the price of Bitcoin is anymore and people are valuing it in sats, that's when it's going to look like, a penny stock where it's moving from 1 cent to 5 cents to 10 cents or an altcoin. But meanwhile, behind the scenes, those who are in Bitcoin right now know how much that's jumping up the price of Bitcoin. And that's when it goes from, let's say 10 cents per sat, I think is 10 million per Bitcoin. And then $1 per sat is 100 million per Bitcoin. And then you go to $2 per sat. That's how this thing is going to move because there's only so much of it. And the whole world, every person, every country, every company, every AI, every robot is going to be wanting Bitcoin. So there's the flood. There's the flood. It's wild. It's wild when you think about it that way. Sorry, I missed a bunch of chats here, but anyways, we're getting caught up. Okay. Oh, we got to give away some Bitcoin. That was the main thing I wanted to do today. Hold on, I see some more stats coming in through the Zap stream. Pretty low though today. I'm thinking because it's either not working or they're not showing up. So the Zap stream is at an all-time low today. But we do have our QR code here that you can send sats to, which is connected to this phone. So it'll pop up in a big green flash. Try it out. Try sending some sats here, any amount, 10 sats, 5 sats. Let's see if they, let's see it pop up. All right. What do we got for some comments here? We'll check on the comments. We'll give away some Bitcoin, and then we'll watch a video following that. Okay. Yeah, this is what I mean. A sat will equal 1 cent. 1 million in 2029. What did I say wrong there in that scheme? 10 mil? What was 10 mil? I might have said something wrong. It's hard to get all the numbers right there when you're doing math live on the air. But 1 sat equals 1 cent is 1 million, I believe. Yeah, it's 1 million. $1 million Bitcoin. And $1 equals 1 sat is $100 million Bitcoin. Pretty sure. Buck 52,000 says, I had to orange pill my financial advisor. He didn't take it so well. I basically said I didn't want bond stocks, no other financial vehicle other than Bitcoin. I'm sure they're hearing that a lot more and more here now. Tire Doctor. That's a great name. You got a tire shop? The Tire Doctor. Says, rumor that Trump will collect tariffs and Bitcoin and bypass the Fed. I believe that, and deposit it into the Treasury. I believe all of that. You got to keep in mind here that Trump, back in 2016, one of his main objectives as president was to get rid of the Federal Reserve. Is it an easy thing to do? No. Is it doable? Yes. And I think that that's exactly what's going to happen. And, you know, my prediction was I think he's just going to end the Fed and say, you know what, we're not paying you our debt. Sorry. Roll everything into the Treasury, release a new US dollar that's backed by Bitcoin, and that will absolutely flourish in terms of the US dollar value. But this is another way to do it. And this might be more of a roundabout way to do it, where they collect tariffs and Bitcoin. The price of Bitcoin goes up. They start buying Bitcoin. Everything inflates. All of a sudden they have a bunch of Bitcoin in the Treasury. I mean, that makes sense, honestly. It's not a coincidence that Trump is talking about Bitcoin. Let's just say that. I know a lot of people think that he was just pandering to Bitcoiners, but really, was he? Because think about how many Bitcoiners there are like us. Like, is it worth putting that much time and energy into getting, 50,000 votes? I don't know. I don't think there's any sort of coincidence there with Trump and Bitcoin. I think that there's been a plan in place for many years that involves Bitcoin, and we're just kind of seeing it play out right now. Jay Vargo says, do you see the continued ETH Bitcoin to trend lower then? Absolutely. Absolutely. That's the one no-brainer I can say. I don't know when all this is going to happen, but I know that the ETH chart will forever go down compared to Bitcoin. And if you're holding ETH right now, you're crazy. You're doing yourself way too much damage. Swap it for Bitcoin while you still can. It's already gone down, 50% this year? And that's the shitty thing, is there's a lot of people out there who are holding Ethereum They bought it back in 2020 when all the altcoins, everybody was using Ethereum for all the different altcoins, and it had value. And they bought it then, and it's down half, and they're waiting for it to get back up to what they paid for it, and then they're going to buy Bitcoin. But before that ever happens, Bitcoin's going to be so far out of reach. So they're just going to end up with less sats than they would have if they just swapped it today. ETH is the Federal Reserve 2.0. ETH and XRP are both very centralized, very similar to fiat, and I would say the enemy. I got to top up my thing here. And this isn't connected to my wallet anymore. Let's see if I can do this. Oh yeah, it might work. Okay, we're paid. Our rent's been paid over on Zapstream. What else do we have here? My Path to Far says that's optimistic, Jor. I can never imagine ending the Fed, but cool if he does. I mean, the Fed they're kind of at a point now where the US had $36 trillion in debt. Do you know how much money that is? 36 trillion? Like, that's never going to be paid back. So what happens? The US defaults on its debt, says, sorry, we can't pay it back, bypasses it, goes through I love this theory. That makes so much sense to me. Trump will collect tariffs in Bitcoin, bypass the Fed, and deposit it into the Treasury. Juanito says, is Ethereum more of an enemy or XRP? I would say XRP. As much as I hate Ethereum, I think that the XRP crew is very... So the XRP compared to Bitcoin, people would be like very high time preference people. They don't really know what's going on there. They just see the price going up and they buy some and they want to push that on everybody else. So they're very high time preference people. They're very connected to the banks. It would be very tied into the current banking system. Things wouldn't change in our life. You'd still have a very small group of people with the ability to create new tokens issued to their friends and control everything. And it's very centralized. Those are the three things. And it's more of a money than Ethereum would be. Like Ethereum in the past was never a store of value, even though some people bought it for that reason. But it's never been a store of value. It was always a utility token where you could, send these stupid meme coins around, and you needed Ethereum. So you needed to buy Ethereum. That's where the value came from. There was demand for it. But now you have Solana. Solana is a better option. It's cheaper, faster. Meme coins are dying. I mean, they're always exist, but they're dying in terms of like the perception of them. So those four reasons, I think: the high time preference, the centralization, very closely tied to the banking industry, and is more of a actual comparison to Bitcoin as a currency. Ethereum's like its own kind of thing. And you know what? It served its place, I guess you'd say, but that's done. It's done. I agree with this. ETH and XRP are dead. And the holders just haven't really figured that out yet. Oh, MicroStrategy crossed 400, 402. Wow. Wow. Okay, let's watch this video. See if I can find it here quickly. This was a video from, there's one more that I wanted to show though. Hold on. Dun, dun, dun. Dun, 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 dun. Here it is. I love this video. Okay, this is a minute and 30 seconds long. I hope you enjoy it as much as I did. Benny Johnson called it, this here is the single best video on the internet right now. And I tend to agree.
All the things that make me mad about those other guys and all the things they do wrong, the one thing that I will not forgive them for is their try to steal the joy from this country.
Hold up. Wait a minute. Something ain't right.
Trump's iconic dance moves are sweeping the internet and winning him a lot of fans across the globe. Trump's dance moves were on show throughout and even after his election campaign. And it seems like everyone wants to hop on the bandwagon.
Young man, there's no need to feel down. I said, young man, pick yourself off the ground. I said, young man, cause you're in a new town. There's no need to be unhappy. Young man, there's a place you can go. I said, young man, when you're short on your dough, you can stay there. And I'm sure you will find many ways to have a good time. It's fun to stay at the YMCA. It's fun to stay at the YMCA. They have everything for your men to enjoy. You can hang out with all the boys. It's fun to stay at the YMCA. It's fun to stay at the YMCA. You can get yourself clean. You can have a
How good is that? So good. It just feels like everything. I don't know. It almost just seems like things are too good right now. It's just horrible to say. I mean, they're not that good. Look at this. Look what's happening outside here right now. But in terms of the world, in terms of society, in terms of all the shit we've lived through in these last X amount of years, like, it really seems now that the tide has shifted. Everything is different now. And shout out to anybody. I mean, it's one thing now that Trump won the election. It's good that, everybody's okay to talk about it. Everybody's obviously doing it in their celebrations, all that kind of stuff. It's good. It's great. But, shout out to the people, and I know that there's a lot in this chat, who were supporters of Trump before it was acceptable to be supporters of Trump. Because for many years, like, you were almost on the verge of being banished from society if you ever came out and said that you like Trump. And you never got a real reason why you shouldn't, but it was just like a cloud over everything, saying that if you like Trump, you're a racist, you're a sexist, you're a fascist, you're Hitler, you love Hitler. Just like, none of it made any sense, but that was just the view. That's how society is. And so it's awesome to see, that it's okay to love your country and to want, protection and security. And, it's good. It's finally, it seems like there's a light shining through finally. And it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool to live through it because we took a lot of shit for a lot of years. So to say vindication, I think, would be the understatement of the millennium here. Okay, let's see what Seprat has to say. We have 2 or 3 major events coming in the short-term period. Trump's inauguration, the next SEC chairman, plus we also have the new time frame, the other sub-events that is Trump is looking to buy. Crypto platform, well, I saw that he'd met with somebody from Backed, crypto platform called Backed. If that deal goes right and he buys it, then the market sentiment will be really good, knowing that he has promised to the crypto industry what my analogies is collecting all this info that we will be reaching more all-time high, meaning it's going to be bullish. Retail market who doesn't know much about Bitcoin, but know that they can buy $1 worth of Bitcoin ETF from BlackRock. Yeah. I mean, regardless of whether he buys Backed or not, like when the US government starts buying Bitcoin, I think that's going to be a very clear indication to everybody on this earth that, this is the real deal. This is the real deal. Company dance, I'm for sure hitting the Trump. I mean, it's cool. It's a cool thing to do now. It wasn't always. There was an NFL player like 2 weeks ago who wore a Make America Great Again hat, and I think he got fined for it. So, like, lots has changed in the last couple weeks here, which is good. Very good. But it's still important to shout out to people who were Trump supporters and the truth seekers before any of this was cool. Garga. Is it Garga or Garga? Hello, everybody. I will start to educate my Florence community for free with private meetings in the comfort of their own home. Wow. That's impressive. That's an impressive initiative. Hey, Daddy-O. Good to see you, my friend. 76 here today. Yeah, you would. You would throw that out there. Garja says, I already have a few friends I do Bitcoin with, but this time I want to create a future job like a side hustle. I'm putting together the presentation, and I created a list of essentials for beginners. It's a great idea. Actually, I would encourage everybody to do that. Everybody watching the show today. I think that that's something that you should prioritize in terms of just understanding what's coming here in your life. As if you're the Bitcoiner in your group of friends and your family, you're going to have a lot of people reaching out to you in the next little while. So what I would say is like get a little document together, keep it one page, give some instructions on where to buy, share your link, like your referral link, and any other information, and just say, if you need any help, just give me a call. That way you don't have to have like a separate conversation with dozens of people talking about the same thing, going through the same process. Just say, yeah, this is what I've been sharing with people. Here's what you need to do. Here's where you need to go. Call me once you've done this. Daddy-O says, been riding Mega since 2016. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Fake news is fault. It is. Big part of it anyways. It was the mainstream news, and it seems like everybody, isn't falling for that stuff anymore. Daniel says, I just zapped 1,000 to your Zap stream refill. So easy. Thank you, Daniel. Thank you, Daniel. That is very much appreciated. Daniel says, I think for the Zap's not working, it's the jar is not logged in. I'm only seeing the NPub instead of the name for the show. Yeah, I got to fix that. I created a brand new account, hooked everything up like 10 minutes before the show today. So I'll work on it a little bit today. But again, if the Zaps aren't working, if you're on Zapstream and it's not working, or if you're on YouTube and you want to send some Zaps in here, you can just use this. And if you can't scan, if you're watching this on your phone right now, you can just send it to Adopted Son 98. I need a new banner for Arnie's wallet. We got the banner going yesterday here. Let's get a new banner. How do I create a new one? If you would like to donate sats to Arnie's wallet, send to Adopted Son 98 at walletofsatoshi.com. Okay, so I'll do that in just a sec. I'll throw that one on there, but let's give away some Bitcoin. Let's give away some Bitcoin. Or Daniel says you can just send to zap.stream lightning URL. Okay. Yeah, they're not showing up in here though for me. So thanks to everybody who has zapped the show today that we're not seeing. It's an all-time low today, but that's okay. Not every day can be perfect. But we are going to give away some Bitcoin. Get yourselves ready. Get yourselves ready. Get out your Lightning wallet. Click send. And we're going to toss the coin into the wishing well here. I love this banner at the bottom now. It's my new favorite thing. I'm just going to spend the whole day creating different banners, I think. Ready? Set? Go. Come on, big money, big money. Ooh, that's not good. That didn't work very well. Let's try this again here. I should maybe restart the page or something. Something's buggy here on the computer. Something's going on. I'll launch a new one here. Give us a sec. Holy, the snow's coming down. I guess we're going to be stuck in here for the day. Artie's gone. Oh, they even used one of my tosses for that one. That's shitty. Again. Well, I just burned 2 tosses and nothing happened there. So unfortunately, must be something to do with my browser. Oh, well, that's life. Okay. Well, you know what? We're going to give some away anyways. What can we do here? We can't have that sponsor and not have an actual giveaway today. What should we do? Give me a sec to think about it. I'll get this video fired up and then we'll give away. I'll think of a trivia question for 500 sats for anybody who's still around at the end of that. Okay, so let's put this video on here. Sheesh, McGeesh. I should have known it was Tuesday. It happens every time. Every time. Hey, we got a couple, we got a new subscriber to the Bitcoin Journey. That's what I called it, the Bitcoin Journal. That's the blog name on Substack. Pretty cool, I think, anyways. What do we have here? Okay, here's the video. We're gonna watch this. This is Sailor talking about the strategic reserve and the kind of impact it's gonna have on the world. So it'll be about 5 minutes long. Oh my God, Jor. Okay, we're going to put it on the screen here. Ready? Here's Sailor talking about the strategic reserve of the US Gov.
The US dollar is great as currency. It's not great as capital. All the Bitcoiners know this. And so, and money, what is money? Well, money is fungible, a fungible liquid asset. Well, the problem, why is real estate can't be money? Because you can't buy a cup of coffee with a building in London, right? A building's not money.
Right.
It is capital. It's a liquid, non-fungible capital. How about a share of Apple stock? Is it money? Not really. It's fungible capital. NVIDIA stock, Apple stock's fungible capital, but it's not real. You can't like buy a cup of coffee on Saturday morning with your Apple stock. So capital assets in the 20th century aren't money. Currency is money, but currency is not a good capital asset. Post Satoshi, all of a sudden we have a money, which is a capital asset, which is Bitcoin. And now the significance of what's going on with the strategic Bitcoin reserve is the United States is going to own the world's reserve capital network, Bitcoin. We're going to mine Bitcoin. The Bitcoin miners run the world reserve capital network. Bitcoin holders own the world reserve capital. If you want a prescription for prosperity in the 21st century, there's no better prescription than to own the world's reserve capital, run the world's reserve capital network, benefit from the growth of the world's reserve capital asset. And the logic from the United States point of view is we already run the world reserve currency. Now we'll own the world's reserve capital network. If people ever recapitalize their sovereign debt with Bitcoin, it will be a benefit to the American people, the American corporations, the American way of life, the American ideology, and it's a way out. Like we talked about, Natalie, we've talked about the despair of the working class that can't get ahead, and the hope that Bitcoin brings to the working class. An individual or family can buy Bitcoin. Oftentimes, we don't really empathize with the despair of a corporation or the despair of a bank. Sometimes we don't really empathize with them. But what about the despair of a bank, which is capitalized on a collapsing asset capital? What about the despair of a corporation? 1% of the companies in the S&P 500 make all the money. The others work hard. When I found Bitcoin, I was in despair. I had worked for a decade. I had spent 20,000 man years attempting to do everything under the sun. I could not get ahead.
Right.
And I was the same me. I wasn't stupid, right? You look at me and say, well, this is Michael Saylor worked as hard as he could for a decade and could not get ahead, right? And the most pernicious thing you can do to someone is you make them think that they're just not smart enough. And the reason they're failing is because they're not smart and they don't work hard enough. And then you realize, no, the system is rigged against you. So what does this mean? What does the strategic Bitcoin reserve mean? It means that Bitcoin is hope for the people, but it means that once the United States embraces Bitcoin as the world's reserve capital network and it builds that strategic Bitcoin reserve, the path is open for corporations in the United States to recapitalize on Bitcoin. And the path is open for banks to recapitalize on Bitcoin. And now corporations don't have to die. Banks don't have to die. Institutions are already off the hook. Individuals are already off the hook. For an endowment and for a family and for a private company, it's your choice if you choose the asset which is going up 60% a year or the asset which is going down 6% a year. That's your choice. But it was never a choice for the banks in the US. It was never a choice for operating companies in the US. And so what Senator Lummis is doing is really much more profound than we're going to buy some Bitcoin. What she is doing is she is laying the ethical, economic, technical foundation to revitalize the banking system in the US and in the world, all the public companies in the US and then the world, all of the institutions. And she's spreading the American way of life, the American ideology. And what will first happen is America will do it, but eventually every other country in the world, in Europe, in South America, in the Middle East, they will all look at what we're doing and they will follow us in the same way that, when we started building airports and airplanes, they followed us. And when we started embracing electricity, they followed us. And when John D. Rockefeller started, creating gasoline and kerosene, the world wanted to buy it. And the world wanted to buy Henry Ford's automobiles. They're going to want Bitcoin and they're going to want digital capital. And this is really, it's a pivotal moment in the history of the world. I mean, the Trump, Vance, Musk movement, when we made this choice, are we going to embrace technology and Starlink and electric vehicles and entrepreneurship? Are we going to give the people their freedom back? Are we going to embrace innovation? Right? That choice that took place on Tuesday, November 5th, that catapulted us into a whole new world of possibilities. And that made the strategic Bitcoin reserve possible. And that made the recapitalization of the world on sound economic, ethical, and engineering principles possible.
He's absolutely right. He's absolutely right. And it's, that's something that Trump has talked about since day one, is that the system is rigged. And as Saylor said, the reason why it's rigged is because you could have somebody like Michael Saylor, one of the smartest humans on earth, in my opinion. You could have somebody like Saylor who owns a company, goes public, has millions of dollars in sales every year, but he can't get ahead because he's holding their energy, their value in a currency that's dying. And unless you have something that's feeding it more than it's dying, then it's not going to survive, or it's just going to deteriorate over time. And that's why he said, like, the 1% of the companies make all the money, is because that's how the system is. If you're in the 1% of those companies, like the top, what is it, the 7? Like the Magnificent Seven? If you're in that, then you have all the money coming in to you, just, secondary, indirectly, through funds, through savings account, through all these different mutual funds and derivatives and all this kind of stuff. If you're in that 1%, then you're going to outperform what's happening in the currency that you're holding. But if you're not, you're just going to hold on, and whatever you're making is going to be deteriorated by the fiat currency. So basically what he's saying there is, once the US adopts this, once other countries start to adopt this same strategic reserve and they're holding capital, that's their foundation that they're building on. It unlocks everything. We have to shift our mindset out of that depreciating, deteriorating asset called the fiat dollar. And all of a sudden you get rid of that. You focus on Bitcoin, you keep the currency, you have the capital, which is Bitcoin, You keep the currency, which is the US dollar. You get rid of the Fed, you get rid of the fiat dollar, you roll that into the US Treasury, you start accepting Bitcoin for tariffs, and that's how everything grows. And everybody wins that way. Everybody who's attached to that. I saw a meme the other day that said the way to win Bitcoin is just participate. You own Bitcoin, US adopts it, regardless of where you are in the world. That value just went up because you're playing the game. That's all it takes. You just got to hold Bitcoin. You don't have to do anything with it. You just got to hold Bitcoin. Don't get crazy. Don't get stupid. Don't get greedy. Just hold Bitcoin. And you're going to win. All the Earth's production, all the energy is going to be stored in those sats. And I saw two people sent in one sat each. Somebody said, yo, and somebody said, doesn't show in the chat, though. No, it doesn't. But you get even better. You get a special shout out. Those one sats, though, that's storing energy. Those are sats that are storing energy. And as BlackRock continues buying, as the US adopts a strategic reserve, as individuals across the world start adopting Bitcoin, that one sat, it's storing all that same energy and more. Every time somebody joins the network, that sat becomes more valuable. So point of the show here, we'll wrap things up here in just a sec. I want to get through a couple comments here. But I mean, that's how we should be thinking about Bitcoin. It's going to unlock everything. It's an unlock. And we've been locked. We've been living in a rigged system for as long as we've been alive, pretty much. Well, yeah, not pretty much. We have been. Okay, so we're holy hour and a half already. How does this happen every day? Okay, so we got some info here from Garja. We're going to go with Garja. I think that's right. Number 1 VPN provider, NordVPN. Number 2, browser Brave. Number 3, cold wallet, Blockstream Jade. Number 4, primary exchange, Binance. Number 5, secondary exchange, Coinbase. Charts, TradingView, Lightning Wallet, Coinos. See, something like that. And I think that goes back to what we were talking about there. With you just send one piece of paper to your friends or one email with this kind of information. And it's going to be different for everybody. It's going to be different depending on what country you're in. But just give something like that. And give your links. And then every time they buy Bitcoin, you're going to make some money off of that. That's your value that you get in return for helping them. Daddy-O says, here in South Carolina, we voted for Trump in the South primary way back in 2016. Well, you're a big part of the change here, the shift in the world. Jason says, if the NA ETFs don't get green light for in-kind creates, yeah, that signals trouble to me that the great taking is on the table. I agree with that. So what Jason's saying there is that I think North American ETFs. So how that works right now with the ETFs is they're not in kind, which means that if you own a Bitcoin ETF and you want to exchange it for Bitcoin, you can't. You have to sell it, you have to get dollars, and then you have to buy real Bitcoin with it. So there are certain funds around the world. I believe Australia is one of them. There's a couple of them where if you sell your Bitcoin ETF, you can actually take Bitcoin instead of cash. So I agree with that. I think that if that never happens, then either the ETFs will fade away and nobody will give a shit about them, or there's something bigger at play there. Evie, good morning. Looks like one of our 4.2% female audience there. Good morning. Good to see you. Juan Lolito says, do you have a Bitcoin runes address? I will send you some dog go to the moon, which you can convert then if you want to. I don't know how to get a runes address. So if you're still here, let me know. Maybe we'll do it on the show if it takes not very long. But if you're already gone, then we don't have to worry about it. Figured out how to use my Lightning wallet. I can send my address. Yeah, throw it in the chat. We'll throw it in the chat. We'll throw you some sats. Charlie Dunn says, BitKey is coming out with an inheritance option. Well, it's good. I think that that's one of the biggest, whenever I meet with people, like helping them set up a cold card or helping them with their wallets or just any questions that they have, the one question I always ask at the end of the meeting is, what would happen to your Bitcoin tomorrow if you died? If you got hit by a bus tomorrow, what would happen to your Bitcoin? Would it be gone? Would your family get it? Would all the time, energy, everything that you put into not only earning that capital, but the knowledge that you've accumulated through Bitcoin, all that would go to waste. So this is something that every single person who's watching the show today, live and after, really needs to consider. Like not enough people are talking about this. And I know it's not the funnest subject to talk about. It's much funner to talk about Bitcoin going to 93 million, but it is absolutely imperative that every single person who owns any amount of Bitcoin figures out an inheritance plan. And the one thing I also say at the end of it, and this might come back to bite me one day, but the one thing I always tell people is that if you don't have anybody in your life that you trust with Bitcoin and them being able to access it, just leave them like a one piece of paper, very similar to like the people who are new to Bitcoin. Just leave them a one piece of paper, a single document on paper, give it to them and say, if something happens to me, this is what you do with my Bitcoin. This is how to access it. And you can say, this is what I tell everybody. And it's going to sound like I'm trying to scam people, but just wait. But I said, if you need help, contact Jor. Here's his email. Here's how to get a hold of him. Here's his website. He'll help you move the Bitcoin, or he'll help you deal with the Bitcoin. And then after that, I say, make sure you put in caps, in bold, in italics, underlined. Under no circumstances will Jor or whoever's helping you with it ever need the 24 words. They won't need that. If they ask you for that, run. They'll be able to help you without those 24 words. They'll be able to help you move that Bitcoin or do something with that Bitcoin without the 24 words. So make sure whoever you have, whether it's me or somebody else in your life that's a Bitcoiner, make sure you put that. Make sure you put, they'll never need your 24 words. Never share these 24 words with anybody. So you should be thinking about this stuff. We're going to have a really good option for inheritance stuff through Bitcoin Citadel, the new venture we're launching. But in the meantime, this is something that you can do today, is just write it down on a piece of paper, because honestly, life happens when you least expect it to. And I think that everybody here would get sick to their stomach thinking about if something happened to them tomorrow and their Bitcoin, their family can't access their Bitcoin, it's a problem. And not many Bitcoiners are, having that conversation or having those thoughts, and they need to be. Daniel says, Jack Cruz says that investing in Bitcoin is like having a second job that doesn't require you to show up for work, but pays you anyways. Yeah, no, that's true. That's very true. You just got to protect it though. That's the key. Brent says, I love that Saylor seems to hold high or confidentiality in such high regard. He doesn't give people up or compromise that. You know what? I agree with that. And we're going to give him the benefit of the doubt here. I think it's good to question. It's good to look into things, but I think I'm with you there, Brennan. Life with Darnell says the XRP ETF is going to happen. Who cares? Garja, thanks, my friend. 1 hour first meeting. I am done here at the butcher store. I feel like a king. Okay. Here's a question from the Zap stream. Hobbit, it blows my mind knowing that from 2104 to 2138, everyone will be competing to mine less than one full Bitcoin. 34 years for less than one Bitcoin. My goodness, the future will be so wild. What is your thought on that, Jor? I mean, that's the thing. That's the thing that you got to keep in mind with that. We know that. That's the brilliance of Bitcoin. Sorry, Juan, I don't know how to get that. BC1? I mean, I have a BC1 address, but I don't think I could access a coin. Maybe just shoot me an email. I mean, it's not a big deal if you don't, but just shoot me an email, 88 sats, and tell me how to get a wallet and how that works. Is it ruins? I don't know. I've never messed around with that kind of stuff before. But anyways, I mean, that's a good way to end the show today. And I think that that's one very good way to look at everything is like the sats today, nothing's going to change. One sat today is going to be the same sat in 100 years from now, except it's going to be storing so much more energy in it. So regardless if you have 1 million sats or less, if you have 50 million sats, if you have 1 Bitcoin, if you have 20 Bitcoin, you have to take this seriously. And I really try to drive home this message on every show because it is so important. It's fun to talk about the price. It's fun to look at MicroStrategy. It's fun to talk about all the different things happening. But at the end of the day, none of it's going to matter if you're not protecting your Bitcoin properly. None of it. And I would go as far as to say that you should actually look at your Bitcoin stack, whatever it is. And I think a very reasonable amount of money to be allocating to your security is 5%. So here in Canada, if you had 1 full Bitcoin, that means you should be investing at least $6,000 or $7,000 into your security. If you got 1 million sats, that's what? $50? No, it'd be $500, $500. So just take whatever Bitcoin you have, look at the price, take 5% of that, and that's what you should be investing in your security. That could be devices, that could be multi-signature setup, that could be paying somebody to help you get that set up. But that's what you should be paying for your security for it. And keep in mind here, I know it's very easy for people to say, oh, I'm just going to do it myself. And that's one option. Like you have to invest either time or energy yourself. But you have to consider your time and what's that worth? Like if you look at a doctor, let's say a doctor wants to learn Bitcoin. He's got a couple Bitcoin. He wants to secure that. He's like, you know what? I'm a doctor. I'm smart. I can figure this out on my own. I don't need anybody's help. Well, it's probably going to take about 10, 20, 30 hours to really figure out what you're doing there. And you times that by how much you get paid, your hourly rate. And that's what you have to factor into that. Your time is not free. And so it's like, okay, well, what would I rather spend 30 hours at my rate of $1,000 an hour, $30,000, or I could just pay somebody $1,000 to help me with it. So if you need any help, the one thing I would say is we're already 3 shows into the multi-generational wealth. We talked about procrastination, key management, not leaving the crumb, like paying very close attention to everything and not taking anything for granted. I said, too many people, they look at their little device sitting on their desk or sitting on their dresser, and they just see a device. And if you understand where Bitcoin's going and what that's going to be worth in the future, that I think people should start looking at it like there's $2 million worth of cash sitting on their dresser. Would you just leave $2 million worth of cash sitting there? Or would you actually do something to protect that? So that was the first episode. The second one was really leaning in on Bitcoin, like in life with your energy, your time, also your money, and some tips and best practices for that. And the third one was a passphrase, which I think every person watching the show should start looking into, a passphrase or a multi-signature setup. So those 3 episodes are done. I'm posting number 3 today, and we're going to do number 4 tomorrow, episode 4. So the best way to get in on that and to watch the collection, you'll be able to get it afterwards if you just want to wait until then and do it all at once. But if you want to go every week, we're going to do one until 2025. You can sign up for in the show notes, Living the Future. It's $5 a month. You get access to the course. You get access to the Signal chat with 80 plus other Bitcoiners. and you get access to the Discord channel. So in the last week, we probably had over 10 people sign up for that, a bunch of new people joining the chat, and it's exciting. Some people for the series, some people just for the interaction with other Bitcoiners. Some people just want to be part of a Bitcoin community. So that's the best way to do that. And I want to say, oh, what do we got here? Daniel says, you didn't ask me, but my thought is that in some way, each sat today is backed by all of that energy. I agree with that. Any Bitcoin purchase now is such a bargain. I'm buying the top forever. Amen to that, Daniel. LOL 5%. What's funny about that? I think that should be the minimum. It depends on how much you hold, right? Well, yeah, that's the 5% part of it. So if you got 1 million sats, you should look at the price of that. It's about $1,000 here in Canada, a little bit more now. But then you say, okay, well, $500, that's a device. That's what you need for securing 1 million sats, I would say. 10 million sats, what would that be? Is that right? Or is it $50? I don't know. Do the math. Do the math yourself. Spaceman is over in the chat. Good morning, Spaceman. All right. We're going to leave things there for today. Almost 2 hours here. I got to stop doing such long shows, I think. Got itchy nose. Still snowing. Alan says, I've been involved with crypto for 6 years and I still feel like a total rookie. I mean, honestly, aside like the multi-generational wealth course, I think even if you learn one thing from it, it costs you $10 and it changes your, I mean, this is how you have to think about it. Let's say that you're like Shell here. And you think that, I've spent 0.5% on my Bitcoin security and I'm keeping 99.5% in Bitcoin. Is that 99.5% really that valuable if you're not going to have it in 20 years from now? If you're just more focused on buying Bitcoin, about the price, about everything else, is that worth anything if you don't have it in 20 years? Or if you spend some of that, invest in your security, it's hard to put a price on that. It's truly priceless information. Sats well spent. That's what I call it. So large holders, I mean, that's even more important, right? You got 10 Bitcoin, you want to spend money on securing that. You have to. Well, you might even hire a team to do it. You might hire somebody in different parts of the world to hold that 10 Bitcoin. Like compared to a bank, and I think you need more security than a bank because the bank has insurance, the bank's holding other people's money, and the bank deals in fake money, right? You don't have insurance on your Bitcoin. You're holding your own money and your money has actual value and is going to be incredibly valuable in the future. So you have to think about this. But anyways, going back to what Alan was saying here, I think that's aside from the multi-generational wealth course, I think that's the biggest value add for people in living the future is that there's so much happening. There's so much to know. And it's just so nice that if you have any questions, you want to talk about anything, you need help with anything, you just throw it out there in the Discord or in the Signal, and there's going to be somebody who's going to help you with that. And that's a big part of the Bitcoin journey is having people to talk to, having people to help you, having people to help the newer people. And it just grows your whole 360 on Bitcoin. So consider that. And shout out to everybody who has been joining in the last little while. It's been buzzing. So you can get that. You can get all the information about how to contact me and everything else. 2-hour show today. 2-hour show today. The least you could do is like, if you don't have any sass to throw around. But if you feel like sending some, if you learned anything today, you can send it right there to Arnie. The value for value. I have a hard time asking for stuff, but I think it's important to do. 2-hour show for free. And you're here because you want to be. So if you learned anything today, consider joining, consider sending some sats, and I would very much appreciate it. So Have yourselves an amazing day. We're going to try to stay warm here. We're going to try to, hopefully the power stays on, but we'll be back here first thing tomorrow. We're going to do part 4 of multi-generational wealth tomorrow. So get signed up, get in the chat, and you'll be there with a front row seat tomorrow. We'll see you then. Bye-bye.